Hi, I'm Richard Banfield. I'm the CEO of Professional Soil, and these are the judges. I'm not quite sure who's Paula and Randy and Simon, but we're going to talk about websites today. We're going to talk about your website specifically, the ones that you guys submitted, and we're going to talk about the balance between science and art, getting the business principles right, getting the aesthetic principles right, trying to make those people convert from just visitors to actual buyers or users or members or whatever it is that you're after. So I think a lot of you are here because your sites suck, right? And you're trying to find out ways to improve them. And we're not here to get nasty about the sites, but we're going to be direct and we're going to tell you what works and what doesn't. And the reason why this particular panel is in a position to do that is that all these people have created web businesses, either bootstrapped them or funded them, and have done very, very well. Dave Hauser, CTO and founder of Grasshopper, he pretty much funded his business on his credit card and his partner's credit card. and they've done exceptionally well. How many users do you have?
We have about 40,000 users now.
40,000 users using their virtual phone systems, and probably one of the most interesting entrepreneurial companies in the Boston area, trying to get the entrepreneurial scene going, trying to help startups and a lot of entrepreneurs and getting the same kind of experience that they have. Roy Rodenstein recently sold his business, going.com, to AOL. Now working with AOL to help him with some of the other projects. And Chris Merrill-Rutherland built up an IT business called Thrive Networks, which he sold to Staples. And now he's running Webomatic, Super Webomatic, which is a company that has the ability to build small websites in an incredibly short space of time at a low price point. So these guys are going to help us make decisions about whether the sites that we've seen submitted from this audience make it or break it, and whether you guys need to make some changes or not. The thing is about you as business owners or people within businesses is that you're not really thinking about the website all the time. You're thinking about how to pay bills, that HR problem that just came up. You're thinking about how to market your company. And the website sometimes takes a back seat to that. And that means that it doesn't always get the attention it deserves. But the problem with ignoring the website is that it's becoming more and more relevant. It's an ignorable part, a non-ignorable part of your business now. You can't ignore it anymore. It's going to be the thing that people access to make that transaction, to get that phone number, to fill out that form, to connect to another user. And so you can't ignore it anymore. If I ask you if you can live without anything, you can probably say, well, I could do without, my phone for a day, or maybe a week if I was on vacation. But you probably can't live without a website. And you can't live without a mobile access to that website in a couple of years' time either. By the year 2020, most of our web experiences are going to be through some kind of mobile device. So even as you're thinking about your website now, you're going to be thinking about how will people actually perceive it and use it and interact with it through maybe a smartphone or just a regular phone. The other thing about brands and websites and businesses and any kind of web experience is that there's a huge amount of emotional content. We actually have a pretty good relationship with the things that we buy. If you guys are owners of iPhones or iMacs or anything like that, you're probably in love with it. I mean, it's sad, but you actually love the devices that you have. And you have an emotional relationship with those things that you buy as a consumer, and you fall in love with them. And when you fall in love with them, you start to forget about the transactional, functional bits and pieces, and you start to react to the emotional things. Now, in the past, even people like me who've been designing websites for a long time have been designing websites that are potentially one directional. They're just, in the past it was a brochure. You put up what the company was doing, you had some information about the founders, maybe the president's photograph was on the front of the website. But over time, we've seen that flip completely around, and it's no longer a brochure. It's actually somewhere where you go and make that transaction or make that connection to somebody. And because that that relationship has changed with your website. You have almost like a personal connection to the things that are going on in that website. So it's not about emotion as it relates to the thing, but rather emotion as it relates to the company and the people that are behind the company. If we don't like what we hear, we don't like what we see, we can complain about it now. Back when I started first designing websites, if you didn't like a website, there was nothing you could do about it. You sent somebody an email and it disappeared into a spam folder somewhere. Now if you don't like something, you jump on Twitter or you jump on Facebook and you make a noise about it and you complain. And suddenly that company is in big trouble. If Comcast gets somebody complaining about their service on Twitter, they can either ignore it or 15 million people can find out about it. Now you're in the same situation. Even if you have a small business and somebody doesn't like your experience, they'll jump on Yelp, they'll complain about you, and that's there for everybody to see. So when somebody does a search for your service or your website, they're going to find that Yelp complaint first before they find your site. So that means you have to be really vigilant about what you're doing on the web and what that says about you and your company. So it's not just the reputation of the business anymore, but it's your personal reputation. Because somebody can now diss you online, complain about you online personally. They can say, this guy sucks, or this girl did this to me. And that's what it boils down to. If you have a really bad website, it's sending that message saying, I don't really care about my customers. I don't really care about the people who interact with me, the people who buy stuff from me or get the services that I offer. So in the same way that you take care of your office, and you wouldn't invite somebody into this office, you've got to think about, the alternative. This is what people want. This is the kind of experience they want to see. So, not to diss Microsoft too much, but this is their website, and this is the Apple website. Now, it doesn't take much of an imagination to know that it's almost impossible to find what you need here. But it's pretty easy to find what you need here. Now, there's a balance though, right? You've got to give people what they want. They're searching for something, they're trying to navigate and find something. And at the same time, you want to appeal to those emotional things. You want to try and balance those things out. And I'm not saying that design is everything, but these are today's stock market prices for Microsoft and Apple shares. And, I think that design might have something to do with that. I'm not quite sure. It might all be to do with Steve Jobs, but I'm thinking design has something to do with it. So the way most people are going to experience the web, and this also depends on personality and the company and the various relationships that are going to be created, is that there's art and science. There's those things that are beautiful, that are designed, and then those things are transactional. Does it work? Did my payment go through? So on the art side, it's imagery, it's designs, it's the pictures, it's the flow. And on the science side, it's making sure that the analytics are telling you where they're going, which pages they're using, which things they're clicking on, which parts of the site are being ignored, where are the dead links. And those things actually relate pretty nicely with relationship and transaction. So in art and science, you've also got relationship and transaction. Art, the art of relationships, the art of building a relationship is something that you do through trust. Science and transactions you do through trust as well. But this is the balance. You've got to try and find the balance between all the things that you have on your website. If you are going to find that balance in today's web, and I'm not talking about the way it was 10 years ago, in today's web with the influence of Facebook and Twitter and Google, you are going to have to be a real human being. You cannot be just a brochure. You can't be a set of facts about what it is that your company does. A features and benefits list. Now, a lot of companies that we've dealt with, that we've worked with, are typically members of an enterprise forum like you. Well, we're an IT company, or we're a manufacturing company. We do engineering.